Interpretive reading is a type of public speaking in which the speaker will choose a set of paragraphs or pages from a novel and then read them aloud to the audience. They will begin the reading with an introduction, which usually lasts a minute, describing the context of the novel and the positioning they have chosen, and the reasons why they have chosen the novel.
It's 1939 in northern Transvaal, South Africa, where an author by the name of Bryce Courtenay decides to teach us as human beings what the true meaning behind hope and race is for good. Two four-letter words that have the ability to change humankind for the better, to bring us together. Hope, in that a 5-year-old, white, young English boy is raised by his Zulu nanny through it all. She teaches him the true meaning behind having hope, and the true meaning behind the word of race. She shows him that there isn't different types of races in the world, or in South Africa specifically, but only one type, the human race. So without further ado, I bring you the one and only, The Power of One by Bryce Courtenay. This is what happened. My Zulu nanny was a person made for laughter, warmth and softness. And before my life started properly, she would clasp me to her breast and stroke my golden curls with a hand so large it seemed to contain my whole head. My hurts were soothed by a song about a young warrior hunting, and a woman's song about doing the washing down on the riverbed. My life properly started at the age of 5, when my mother had died from a nervous breakdown. I was torn from my African nanny with a big white smile and taken from my grandfather's farm and sent to boarding school. Then began a time of yellow wedges of pumpkin burnt black and bitter at the edges, mashed potato with glassy lumps, meat aproned in gristle and grey gravy, diced carrots, warm wet cabbage, and beds that wet themselves in the morning. But most importantly, an entirely new sensation called loneliness. I was the youngest child in the school by 2 years and spoke only English while the others spoke Afrikaans. They called the English settlers Rooineks apparently, which means redneck, because in the Boer War, which had happened over 40 years ago, the pale-skinned English troopers got very sunburnt and their necks turned red. The English won this war, but it was a terrible, terrible struggle, and they created a hatred for them by the Boers, which was carried on for over generations and generations to come. So here I was, someone who only spoke the language of the people they hated the most in the whole entire universe. Great. And I'm telling you, I was in a lot of trouble. On the first night of boarding school, I was taken by 2 11-year-olds to the seniors' dormitory. I stood there shaking like gibbering O and silly Billy. But no, it could only get worse when the sentence was pronounced. I had been caught deep behind enemy lines, and even a 5-year-old knows that this means a death sentence. I wasn't quite sure what death was. I knew it was something that happened to the chicken and the pigs on an occasional heath at the farm. But let me tell you, it wasn't a great sight, even for the pigs themselves. And I knew something else for sure. Death wasn't as good as life. Now death was about to happen to me before I could even get the real hang of life. Trying hard to hold back my tears, I was dragged off to the shower room. I had never been in a shower room before. It resembled the slaughterhouse back on my grandfather's farm. Was this where my death was about to take place? I was told to remove my pajamas and to kneel inside the recess facing the wall. I looked down into the hole in the floor where all the blood would drain away once I died. I closed my eyes and said a silent, sobering prayer, not to God, but to my nanny. I felt a sudden splash on my neck and then warm blood trickled all over my trembling body. Funny, I didn't feel dead, but then again, who knows what death feels like? When the judge and his entire council had peed all over me, they left. I didn't know how to turn a shower on, and so had no way of washing myself. At the farm, I had always been bathed by my nanny in a tin tub in front of the kitchen stove. She'd soak me all over and dee and dum. The two kitchen maids, who were twins, would giggle behind their hands when she soaped my little acorn. This was how I knew it was a special part of me. Just how special I was soon to find out. I tried to dry myself with my pajamas. My hands were shaking a lot. I wandered around that big dark place until I found the small kids' dormitory. There I crept under my blanket for the first day of my real life. I awoke next morning to find the other kids surrounding my bed and holding their noses. I'm telling you, I have to admit myself, I smelled worse than a bloody toilet, worse than the pigs at home. The kids scattered as a very large person with a smudge of hair above their lip entered. "Good morning, mevrouw," they chorused in Afrikaans, each standing stiffly at attention at the foot of their bed. The huge woman tore back my blanket and sniffed. "Why you at your bed, boy? Sis, man, you stunk!" she bellowed, even louder than I've heard her before. Then, without waiting for my answer, which of course I didn't have, she grabbed me by my ear and led me back to the place where they had taken me before. She made me take off my pajamas. She pushed me into the recess. I thought desperately, she's even bigger than Nanny. If she pisses on me, surely I'll drown. There was a sudden hissing sound and needles of icy water drilled into me. I had my eyes tightly shut, but the hail of water was remorseless. If you don't know what a shower is, and have never experienced one before, then it's not hard to believe that this maybe was death. 1,000 sharp prickles drilled into my skin. How can so much piss possibly come out of one single lady? I thought, funny. It should be warm, but this was icy cold. But then again, I was no expert at these things, was I? Then the fierce hissing and the icy deluge stopped suddenly. I opened my eyes to find no mevrouw. The judge stood before me, his pajama sleeve rolled up, his arm wet where he'd reached to turn off my shower. Behind him stood the jury and all the small kids from my dormitory. The jury formed a ring around me. My teeth were chattering out of control. The judge pointed to my tiny acorn. "Why you past your bed, Roynek?" he asked. "Hey, look! There is no head on his snake!" someone yelled. They all crowded closer and closer. "Piskop, piskop, piskop, piskop." In a moment, all the small kids were chanting. "You hear? You're a pisshead!" the judge translated. "Who cut the head of your snake, piskop?" I looked down. All seemed perfectly normal to me. I looked up at the judge, confused. The judge parted his pajama fly. His large snake seemed to be a continuous sheet brought down to a point of ragged skin. I must say, it wasn't much of a sight. More trouble lay ahead of me for sure. I was a Roynak and a Piskop. I spoke the wrong language, and now I was obviously made differently. But I was still alive. And in my book, where there's life, there's hope. Thank you.